Okay, so hey everyone, my name is Shae, and I am going to be showing you my personal library slash office. It's always been my favorite place in my house, but it has become so much more meaningful to me now that I've been, stuck at home for the past month or so working from home, and I pretty much spend every every waking moment in this room. So it's good that I love it so much. So I'm gonna do like a quick overview, and then I'm gonna kind of break down my book specifically. But so here is my office. On the door, I think it might be reversed, but it says, "Please don't let the cops in or the cats out," and that's kind of like our house motto. Um, and so then I'm actually going to switch my camera around. I think that'll make it easier. So then here is my room itself. Got my S that my brother and his friends stole from me. It was from like the grocery store marquee in my hometown. I finally hung up some art, which my friends painted for me. The most utilized spot in the room, especially now, is this. It's like my napping pod nook, and my cats and we all love laying there. And then my shelves, which, like I said, I will break down a little more in depth, but some more art. My desk, where I do some writing and do a lot of work and stuff like that. I have, not the best view, but my cats like it because there's always squirrels running around there. And then my guitar, my little keyboard MIDI station that I don't use enough. And then my like little creative altar where I've got, like my Buddhas, and then I've got, of course, Captain America, very important, stuff like that. And so this is my dream board, image board for my novel. So just little things like that. So now I'm gonna actually call my husband in to help me so I can talk to you and show off my books at the same time. So these are my shelves, as I've already kind of shown. We decided when we moved in here, since I was going to have a dedicated office library space, all of our books are just going to go together. Derek, my husband, he received his books, he inherited books from his grandfather who studies philosophy. So we've got a bunch of philosophical works that I've never read. And so then my books aren't in really a very good order. Yeah, I can't. They're kind of by subject, sort of, but they're not in alphabetical order or anything like that. So this nook here, this cube here, is mostly plays and things like that. This next one is poetry. And as you can see, I definitely love Anne Carson. She's my favorite poet, probably one of my favorite writers. My favorite book of hers is Autobiography of Red, which I buy people copies of this all the time and give it away, and they don't seem to like it as much as I do, but I still love it and I still give it away because I feel like everyone should read it. And then this brick of a book. I just found out about Frank Stanford last year, and his poetry is amazing. He was like a mystic outlaw poet from Arkansas, and his poetry just kind of reminds me of like an eternal youthful summer where there's really nothing to do but everything is possible. And he is actually Lucinda Williams was one of his lovers, and she wrote a couple songs about him, and he actually killed himself when his wife and another one of his lovers found out about each other. So it's kind of like one of those tragic tales that is pretty common in poetry, I think. This is just kind of critical theory, cultural theory, miscellaneous smart books. And this is kind of like my brilliant women authors cube. It's got some of my favorite writers as well. And I kind of set aside some books that I wanted to recommend or show off. So Maggie Nelson's The Argonauts, which is amazing. Leslie Jameson's The Empathy Exams, another thing I would recommend. Kate Zambrino's Heroines, which is kind of about the modernist wives of famous writers. So, you know, Zelda Fitzgerald, T.S. Eliot's wife, all of the women who kind of were like the muses but didn't get their due. And it's also about being a woman writer, a creative person, and how you deal with that. Chris Kraus is one of my favorites as well. I love Dick. This is actually a book that I read with my book club, and it was my choice. I picked it, and I won the worst book award for my book club. And they made a statue with a copy of the book with flames coming out of it as though they were burning it because they hated it so much. But I love it. Amazon made a TV show out of it, which is similar, sort of, but not really, which I like too. But of course, it got canceled after the first season, because I think these are books that you definitely have to be in a certain mindset to read. This nook right here is kind of my leftover journals. My journals are up here on the top, but there's not enough space. I've been keeping a journal since I was about 17. I'm on my 98th volume. I remember I entitled them all. Little obsessive, I guess you could say. My life is really not that interesting, but I think it is, so that's all that matters. No one ever reads them. This is my writing section, so the craft of writing, working on writing, learning about writing. Two books that I would suggest for those interested is The Last Draft, which really helped me when I was revising my novel. It just kind of gives you the nuts and bolts and what you need to be focusing on, because that is kind of an overwhelming endeavor. And then The Forest for the Trees is just Betsy Lerner. I think she was an editor. Yeah, she was an editor. And she just kind of, when you're in the process of either clearing agents, working on a manuscript, you feel so alone and you don't know where to turn. There's so much conflicting information out there. And this was just very a much needed companion, kind of a little voice saying it's going to be okay. So you need that sometimes. Here are my short stories, collections, things like that. Barista J Pancake, I love him, even though when I was in college and was assigned to him, we were all like, what the fuck is this? Who the heck is that? What kind of name is Barista J Pancake? We thought it was super pretentious, but now I love him, so you should listen to your professors, they're not stupid. Over here is just kind of miscellaneous. Read Helter Skelter for a new book club that I'm in. I didn't know much about Charles Manson, but I actually ended up loving it. Vincent Bugliosi, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He's the main author of this book, and his voice is very charming within it, so I fell in love with it. David Foster Wallace is a recent obsession of mine, particularly his nonfiction essays, journalistic writings. He's so charming, and I held off on reading David Foster Wallace because it was always kind of like one of those like dude in your MFA pretentious kind of auras about him. And it's not without merit, but I'm kind of smitten. And so one of the books that I am currently working through of his is Infinite Jest. So I've been going at it for about a week now, and as you can see, I'm not very far, but I think everyone takes a while going through that. More miscellaneous. This is my cube dedicated to Dada, the art movement in the early 20th century. I have a lot of collected volumes of Tristan Zara's work. I call him my dead Romanian poet lover. I just love his work. I love everything that he kind of believed in, which was just kind of revolt of, you know, the status quo. This cube right here is feminist theory, feminist works, things like that. Riot Girl works and things like that. These down here are more Derek's, so I can't really speak to much of them. He's got a lot of Star Trek comic books. Mutants, lots of good stuff.
That's a science book, The Mutants.
More of his grandpa's philosophy books and things like that. I'm sorry if I'm taking too long. These are my art books. These are like my old Norton anthologies and stuff from school. This is music related stuff with a lot of stuff, you know, Bob Dylan, because he's like my God. So I've got a lot of his stuff. Some more random nonfiction. And then over here, sorry. This is my Beat cubicle. So Jack Kerouac, I started reading him when I was about 15 or 16. And I remember George Saunders, who I think we all know and love. He said when he first started writing, he had a Hemingway boner. And when I first started writing, I definitely had a Kerouac boner. And so as you can see, I have a lot of his work. Actually, with Jack Kerouac, more than his novels and things like that, I love his journals and his collected letters. I feel like those have such a different feeling than his fiction, and I prefer it. Here is some more miscellaneous. I actually have a book written by my friend, Mark Nancius. It's kind of like I would say it's based on real life, but it's kind of a novelization as well. And then here's another book that a live journal friend made, and he sent me a copy. He actually hand bound this himself.
Hey, Shae, you are frozen. Amanda, is she frozen on your end too?
Moonshiners. I have a bunch of books on moonshine. As recent. I think it's okay now.
Is it? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, it says you're back. All right, okay. Cool.
Yeah. I'll wrap this up because I think we're having technical difficulties, but a couple more things that I just want to show. These down here are my fiction, Donna Tartt. I love Donna Tartt. The Secret History is amazing. If you haven't read it, I definitely would suggest it, along with The Goldfinch, which I know they made a movie out of, which I haven't seen. My boss said don't watch the movie because it's a travesty, especially compared to the book. And then I will finish on the best book I would say that I have, the collection, which is the collected Calvin and Hobbes. So it's every Calvin and Hobbes comic strip. And this is something that I started reading as a child, and I still love it. I still literally think of Calvin and Hobbes strips every single day of my life. I've made other people read Calvin and Hobbes who have never read them, and they're like, oh yeah, that kind of explains you so much, because it's very formative on me as a person. So that is my library, and I hope you liked it. I would, you know, check out some of the books at least. I have a lot more. If you ever want to find me on Facebook or whatever, I love talking about books, so feel free to do that. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. And I think that is my favorite part of all this is every time I watch somebody's library, I'm like taking notes, like what am I?
Yeah.
And then you pulled up the empathy exams. I haven't read it, but that's been on my list. So I'm like,
oh, it's so good. It's so good. So I would suggest.
Yeah.
Or I can send you my copy if you want to borrow it.
Oh, that's nice. I'll try to pick it up. I'm trying to, support the local bookstores while.
Yeah. No. Yeah. For sure.
But awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna switch over to Amanda, and let her take it from here. So Amanda Forrester, thank you, and thank you for connecting with us. I know this is the first time you're doing anything with us, and
this is yes
from afar. So anyway,
yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you, Shae, for your tour. It was great to see. I'm not the only one who kind of organizes in my own personal way. No Dewey Decimal System here. This is my home office slash library. A month ago, there was no office in here. This room was basically these 2 bookshelves and then a whole bunch of furniture. But because I've been working from home full time, my partner got me this gorgeous desk and this beautiful table and made this space into this just really great, perfect space for me to work in. I will say that almost everything in this room has belonged to somebody else at one point. I try to buy all used books, and I have inherited a lot of items. And then I'll show you in a minute, a couple of shelves that belong to my son. He's the fiction reader. I don't read fiction unless it's a classic. So yeah, I guess I'll give you a little tour. I'm using my laptop because I thought it'd be easier to hold on to. So here's my dog, Sunny. Can you see her? Hi, Sunny. Can you say hi? Okay, very good. So up here, you'll see that I'm very much into my family. So I have photos everywhere. This is my beautiful shelf of MFA items. A lot of these I had to read for my MFA. Things that I won't read again. Things that I recommend that are not poetry because I'm a poet. The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This was really good. Of course, it was National Book Award, or what do you call it when the president says that's the book everybody needs to read? That's the one that you need to read. It's a good one. If it wasn't, I would tell you. Let's see. Oh, The Making of a Poem. This one is really good. My mentor told me to get this one. It's an anthology of all the different forms of poems. So if you're learning and you want to try writing different forms, like received forms, that's a really good book to read. Let's see what else we have here. Well, I have my classics up here, the ones that I read when I'm feeling a certain way, and I'll read them over and over again. As you can see from the bindings, they're kind of super used. I don't know why, but Jane Austen is just my favorite writer of all time, and I'll just read her books over and over and over again. Other books I get bored with. Not her at all. So let's move over to poetry. I have a lot of poetry books. Half of my library is at my actual office at work. So what I have here are things that I'm not ready to give away. I mentor a lot of young women because I work in a university. So I have a lot of books there that I'll give away because I don't want them to feel like they can't get through the book, that they have to give it back to me. So, I mean, you know, so I share, I do a lot of sharing. I came across this guy, Joaquin, I can't say his last name. He's a Mexican-American poet. He's a really good poet. He is not afraid to take risks with his forms. He's not a received form kind of a guy, but what he does is pretty impressive. This Arsonist is really about his, we'll just say, rocky relationship with his dad. I love Mexican poets. I had ordered 5 new books written by Mexican or Mexican-American women, and they just didn't come in. I wanted them for National Poetry Month, and Amazon said, sorry, it's taking so long. Here's all your money back, which I wasn't really happy with, but whatever. I gotta buy some more. So down here at the bottom, we have a couple of shelves of basically what my son likes to read. Some YA, because he kind of is a young adult. And these like mystery type crime novels. I haven't opened a single one of those, so that's why those are on the bottom shelf. Let's see. Over here, these are super timely. Let's see if you can see them. The Foxfire books. This one here used to belong to my grandma. And I think it used to be white. As you can see, it's not white anymore. And I found all these at a yard sale. That's why they don't go in order. But if you want to know how to survive off-grid, or you're just interested in Appalachian stories, these are an amazing series of books. They're full of just beautiful, beautiful stories that'll break your heart. I highly recommend these for anybody. Not only will you learn about Appalachian life and the life of really poor people, you'll also learn how to feed yourself, clothe yourself, house yourself, basically just straight off the land. So this used to belong to my grandma too. This is the history of basically our family, traced back to southern Georgia. So just kind of some history there. Of course, these are all Bibles. These were my family Bibles, different families. And I don't know how I got stuck with them all, and I have to keep them and hand them off to my sons and so on and so forth. I think every Southern house has at least 2 Bibles for every person in their home. I have more than that. So there's 3 people in my home, and basically all of these are Bibles. So there you go. I know this one my mom bought when she got married and had children. The Masonic Bible from my papa, my granny's Bible, my Bible. So yeah, a whole shelf of Bibles there. And down here I have a couple of items that I was published in. I love these collections. This is a Spanish language magazine. And this one is all about women writer. It features women authors and writers and artists, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. This is called Panther Magazine, and I recommend, if you're a woman and you're into the arts, get a subscription so that you receive this like every time it comes out. It's just so gorgeous. The art is just amazing. If I could show you, I want to really show you something. So I'm gonna put my laptop down here for a second. I mean, look at that. Can you guys see that? Who is this by? Selma Van Rensburg. She's amazing. Look at her. So here's some poetry. It's just full of beautiful, beautiful things. So highly recommend this one. And now here's my favorite shelf. I'm gonna get on the floor. So these are about half of the poetry books that I own. Here's Pablo. Everybody knows Pablo, right? My favorite, this is my man, Carl Phillips. He is my man. And I was introduced to him through the Artist series. If you are a writer, you must get every book in the Artist series. They are just full of beauty and wisdom. So this is how I met and fell in love with Carl Phillips. Can you see that? This is the Art of Daring. You can see that I've read it a few times. Every time I read it, it's like a brand new book. He is amazing. And I think he has 17 poetry books now. I don't have that many of his, but they're really amazing. They're really great. He can turn a phrase I just don't know what else to say about him. He's the best poet I've ever read. Carl Phillips. So who else? I don't know if I have my favorite female poet. She might be at work. I'm looking. So I have her. Ada Limon. Write that thing. Read this one too. She's Hispanic American. I don't know what kind of Hispanic, but she's lovely. She's very matter of fact and sweet at the same time. So she is surprising. A lot of surprises in her work. And of course, here's Lucille. Gotta have some Lucille Blessing the Boats. I might have read this one a few times as well. I mean, I have all of these sticky notes because I've studied these guys. Terrence Hayes, you guys know Terrence Hayes? You gotta know Terrence Hayes. Dude is crazy. He is crazy with some poetry. He took a police report, like an arrest warrant, and he transformed it into a poem. Who does that stuff? He's wicked wild. He's awesome. So those are like my favorite poem, my favorite poets. I do love Marge. Marge Piercy is edgy. And at the time she was writing and publishing, she was like super edgy. So I love her too. And the rest down here is a whole bunch of, back in the day, we used to take pictures and print them out. And then they went into these things called photo albums. You can see where my cats have tried to destroy them. So these are full of photos, except for this. This was my mom's high school binder. She and I went to the same high school in Tampa. And she dated this guy, Mike, but it's full of like old recipes that she collected. You see this stuff? It's like falling apart old. It's super awesome. I love it. So my mom left us a year ago this month, so I will always keep this until it disintegrates, basically. And then I'll end, if I can get up off the floor. Woo! I'll end by showing you what I'm reading now. This is called PR for Poets. It's by Janine Hall Gailey. She's pretty awesome herself as a poet. She's written like 5 books of poetry. You can see back here. She's kind of cute, huh? So I have a book coming out in a year. So I'm reading all about the things that I need to do to make that successful. So I have to have some pictures taken and get a website and those sorts of things. So this one's pretty good so far. So there. Do you have any questions for me?
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What was the series of books you said writers needed to have or
The
get?
Art of series.
The Art of.
Press. There are 3 really, really great ones in that one. The Art of Daring for sure.
Okay.
The Art of Recklessness. Dean Young. He's also like a poetry freak, Azoid. I love him. Love him, love him. And then my third one, where's it at? The Poetic Line. If you're a poet, this guy knows exactly how to make your lines push and pull at the same time. If you want to have a powerful line, he can teach you how to do it. So that's my top 3. And I am starting to read The Art of Intimacy. See, I brought it used.
And so those all relate to like the art of daring in your writing or in life in general, or both?
In your writing.
Okay.
Yeah. So how to be reckless in your writing
Mm-hmm.
and abandon like your Puritan views.
Mm-hmm.
The art of daring. So Carl Phillips is a gay man. He's Blackish, I guess you could call him now. And he's very daring in his work. Not like X-rated or R-rated, but very, he pushes the boundaries of, I guess, risque writing, but his language is so beautiful. He's a classicist by training, and so he has that super classy, very highbrow composure, and also the subject matter is edgy. So he is like got this push-pull going on constantly in his work. It's the most gorgeous poetry I've ever read. But I like stuff that's not boring. I don't like it predictable. And Carl Phillips is definitely not predictable.
That's awesome. Those sound really interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah, you both had a lot of great stuff. So my list keeps growing every week we do these things. So
Yeah, it's dangerous. I was sitting here during yours, Amanda, and I've got a list now. I'm taking notes. So
Awesome.
and I love Ada Limon too. She's great.
Oh yeah, she is. Oh my gosh, she read a poem for me. Oh, at my MFA, she was doing a reading and a, what do you call it, a workshop with us, and I got to meet her, and I told her that I loved this one poem. I'll show it to you. It's like the first poem in Bright Dead Things.
Mm-hmm.
How to Triumph Like a Girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so she read it for me. And
Oh,
then she signed the book. I'll show it to you. Come on, where you at? I know she signed it. Where'd she sign? Where is it at? There it is.
oh, that's neat.
I'm so proud of this one. I think she is such a good lady. You know, so supportive and like the kind of person you'd want to just drink wine with and talk about.
Oh, and before you mentioned that poem by Terrence Hayes with the police report. If you haven't read, because that is I think that's really interesting. There's a poet from Tampa Bay, Tyler Gillespie. I don't know, Shae, do you know him?
Mm-mm.
He's in Mississippi now, teaching. I think University of Mississippi. I don't know. Anyway, he has a book called Florida Man, and he's a journalist, and it's a book of poetry based on like police briefs and like real life news stories and stuff like that. So if you were interested in the that kind of police brief format, you might police report format, you might want to check him out. And he's a local Florida guy too. So
Awesome. Gillespie?
Gillespie, yeah, Gillespie. So
Got it.
but awesome, guys, thank you so much, and I'll get the video up today so we can share it with people. I think I think people are looking for content and stuff like that. So I mean, my favorite part of all of these is, just that it's like that little bit of voyeurism, and then everybody's so excited about their books. It's just kind of contagious. So, so anyway, thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you both soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
It was nice
Bye.
meeting you. Bye.